Welcome to ILTV's Israel Daily. I'm Amit Harari. Happy Purim, and coming up in today's newscast. President Isaac Herzog saying there's some behind-the-scenes progress in judicial overhaul talks. Meantime, U.S. Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin beginning his Mideast trip, planning to reassure the United States commitment to Israel's defense. And ILTV celebrating the most colorful holiday of all, giving you a glimpse of the celebrations. There may be a breakthrough in the offing in the nationwide dispute over judicial overhaul. President Isaac Herzog says that behind-the-scenes talks are making progress and the sides are closer than ever to reaching a compromise that the coalition and opposition can live with. More from ILTV's Steve Leibovich.
President Herzog said talks had reached an agreement on some of the most contentious points in the proposed judicial overhaul that has deeply polarized Israeli society over the past months.
אנחנו קרובים תמיד לאפשרות של מתווה מוסכם. יש הסכמות מאחורי הקלעים על רוב הדברים, הם הגיוניים והם סבירים.
There have been no official talks between the coalition and opposition, but the president has been meeting separately with key political figures and experts. The president made the optimistic announcement during an emergency meeting in his office, hosted to seek the support of nearly 100 Israeli mayors and local authority leaders in pushing for political compromise.
עכשיו זה תלוי במנהיגות הלאומית שלנו, בקואליציה ובאופוזיציה, שיצליחו להתעלות לגודל הרגע, שיבינו את האלטרנטיבה הנוראה שצופנת בחובה הסיטואציה מעבר לדלת, שישימו את המדינה ואת האזרחים מעל הכל ויממשו את הרגע החוקתי המכונן הזה שאנחנו נמצאים בפניו ויכולים לממש אותו. המתווה שאני פועל לגבש נותן מענים לשני הצדדים.
Herzog positioned himself as a facilitator and mediator in his attempt to forge agreements between Netanyahu's coalition and the opposition. Herzog is hoping to get the coalition and opposition both on board with his proposal. If he does, the language from his draft could replace the language of the coalition's current legislation. This would allow the sides to overcome the coalition's refusal to halt the legislative process to give way to negotiations. According to media reports, Herzog's panel of academics has been discussing a series of compromises, and the proposal is expected to be released in the coming days. Herzog is hoping to enlist support for his compromise proposal from those who have until now heavily criticized the government's overhaul efforts. Herzog said the plan would provide solutions for both sides of the political debate, in which the coalition argues that plan changes are necessary to constrain an activist judiciary, while opponents argue that the moves strip Israel of independent courts and erode the democracy. Herzog said the main principles included in the plan are diversity of the judiciary, a healthy balance among state authorities, preserving the independence of the courts, protecting human rights, and maintaining Israel as a Jewish and democratic state based on the principles of the Declaration of Independence.
As protests against judicial reform continue to spread, Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu last night lashed out at threats to refuse military service to endanger Israel's existence. Speaking ahead of a Purim celebration from a border police base, Netanyahu said that soldiers must always remain outside the political disagreement of the day and there's no room for refusal.
כשאנו נלחמים בשדה הקרב ומסתכלים ימינה ושמאלה, איננו עושים זאת כדי לבדוק את הדעות הפוליטיות של אחינו ואחיותינו. אנו מסתכלים ימינה ושמאלה בידיעה שאנו מסתערים יחד שכם אל שכם אל מול אויבינו כדי להבטיח את ביטחוננו ועתידנו. זהו היסוד הראשון והחשוב ביותר של הקיום שלנו בארצנו.
Netanyahu's comment coming after 10 former Air Force chiefs warned of a grave and tangible threat posed by the judicial overhaul plan. And letters from groups of reservists, including pilots, saying they would not turn up for training and protest.
הוא נשען על ההבנה העמוקה שתהיינה אשר תהיינה המחלוקות בינינו. אנו תמיד מאוחדים מול מבקשי נפשנו. כך היה בכל מלחמות ישראל, ללא קשר למאבקים ולחילוקי הדעות בינינו. הסרבנות מאיימת על היסוד הקיומי הזה.
The Prime Minister and others in the coalition have sharply criticized some of the protesters with being lawbreakers and anarchists. He stressed that a line must be drawn.
במאבק ציבורי יש מקום למחאה, יש מקום לחילוקי דעות, להבעת דעות, אבל אין מקום לסרבנות.
Before joining Netanyahu at the border police station, National Security Minister Itamar Ben-Gvir claimed that while most of the protest groups are peaceful, there are those who are planning political assassination. Ben-Gvir said that intelligence points to plans to kill himself, Prime Minister Netanyahu, and wife Sarah. A senior unnamed police official told Israel television that he was unaware of any alleged intelligence pointed to political murder cited by Ben-Gvir. And joining us now to speak more about the latest developments is former Deputy State Attorney Yehuda Shafer. Yehuda, from what we know of the president's compromise plan so far, does it look like a deal coalition and opposition can't even accept?
Well, much is unknown, still unknown. Unfortunately, and quite surprisingly, most of these negotiations are not transparent, and we don't really have a compromise on the table. And the devil is in the details here. So, for instance, the main topic, I think, of controversy is with regard to the appointment of judges and who will be in the committee that will appoint the judges. Here, every nuance matters. At the current position, the current proposal, as was passed in first reading in the Knesset, in Parliament, is that the coalition will have full control of all appointments of all judges in all levels of hierarchy, that the Supreme Court judge and lower court judges, and that, of course, is totally unacceptable. Is there a compromise offered here? I'm not sure. I have not seen anything in writing, so I cannot comment on that.
Now, looking at it from what we do know moving forward, what would be the toughest sticking point to get over?
The main issue is the appointment of judges and judicial review. I think there is consensus now in the Knesset, not only in the coalition, but also in some of the opposition members, that there should be judicial review with an overriding clause, so the parliament could have an ability to override certain decisions of the court. That there is some agreement to that concept and notion, but only if the majority for that is larger than 61 out of 120. On other aspects of the reform, there could be compromise reached. But the main issue, answering your question, is the question of politicization, the risk, the danger of politicization of the judiciary. So if the coalition will have full control without any checks and balances of the appointments to the Supreme Court and the lower courts, that is a non-starter for an agreement.
Can you see Yariv Levin go along with the changes which would effectively replace his plan?
I think that Yariv Levin is not going to move his position. He's not going to change his position, and I think my intuition is that, and I'm judging this also according to all kinds of leaks and bits of information that are coming out of the negotiations and of the pressure that is being built around Netanyahu now. I think that if Netanyahu does compromise here, Levin might resign. And
do you see that happening, really?
I'm not a political expert. I'm a legal expert. This is a very big question. I think, all in all, Netanyahu, if you look at Netanyahu in the past, Netanyahu realized that the rule of law and supremacy of law are principles that need to be maintained. And he was not in heart supporting these kind of radical reforms as pushed by Levin right now.